Right. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shift Book Club. I'm Sam Baker, and I'm delighted to be here with Kit de Waal and all of her plants, her many plants, author of this month's book club pick, The Best of Everything. Kit has written, in fact, I'll give you a little show and tell, The Best of Everything. Here we go. They never sent me a finished copy, Kit, tightwads. Here I am with my
Give you
proof.
one when I see
My
you in
lovely.
Edinburgh. I'll give you a signed copy.
Oh, excellent. I'll have that. Thank you. Kit has written six novels for adults and young adults, short stories, and she came on the Shift podcast back in 2022 to talk about her memoir, Without Warning and Only Sometimes. Kit published her debut novel in her mid-50s. My Name is Leon was an international bestseller. It was adapted for TV by the BBC and is now on the GCSE God, I can't even say curriculum, let alone spell it. GCSE curriculum. She's founder of the TV production company Portopia Productions, which is dedicated to bringing diverse stories to the wider world. She's a fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, and earlier this year, she headlined a new festival celebrating women writers over 50. Also, she's chair of judges for the 2025 Women's Prize for Fiction, which is like, how sick are you of reading?
Oh, just so great. I loved it. Loved it.
How many books have you read for it?
Um, 80 something maybe. In the 80s.
Oh my God,
I love
that's
it's
a
great.
lot,
It's
just
a
as
lot.
well.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it was great.
I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about all of that, but we're here to talk about The Best of Everything, which is her latest, in which we meet and fall in love with Paulette and learn an awful lot about the meaning of kindness, the many kinds of love, and the ultimate power of hope. Bernardine Evaristo called it profoundly compassionate. Annie McManus said it was deeply moving. And book club member Jill, who can't be here tonight, emailed me to say it was so emotional and beautifully written. I really enjoyed this one, meaning that I guess she didn't enjoy some of the others, but she didn't say that. Even if it did make me cry. So
Oh,
thank you so much for joining us at the book club, Kit. We're so happy to have you here.
and thank you so much for inviting me. I can't wait to speak to everybody.
Well, did you set out to make everyone blub?
I do always set out to move people, whether it's a blob or not. I love a blob. I do love it if somebody blobs, but I want people to feel what I feel, and that's what I always aim for. That you won't read it detached, that you would read it, look up, and be surprised you're not in Paulette's kitchen. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
The immersion is what I go for, whether it's happy or sad or angry, whatever. I just do want to move people.
Sorry, Rosalind, can you mute your mic, please? Sorry about that, Kit. Um, so where do you start? What's it? How's it? What's the process like for you? Do you start with? Do you have a character in your head, a plot? As what's
Always start with the
gets you
character.
going?
Always start with the character. And so often I'll start with the character's shoes and I'll go, right, there's the shoes. That's who we're dealing with, the person that would buy and wear those shoes. Who are
I
they?
love that.
Yeah. I mean, if I go to an event or a cafe or whatever, I will look at the shoes and I'll think, interesting. You might see somebody in quite a tame outfit and then they've got a racy pair of shoes with a bow at the back. And I'm like, yeah, that's what you think. You've snuck that bit of your personality in your shoes. Or sometimes shoes are the thing nobody thinks that. I've done all the rest of me and it's all presentable, but I've got to wear the comfortable shoes. I don't care what they look like.
Mm.
They are such an indicator of who somebody is, I think, or who
So
somebody like to be.
whose shoes did you start with?
My mom was a nursing auxiliary, and she used to have these shoes. And I don't know how old everyone is here, but um, they're Nature Trek shoes. Does anyone remember Nature Treks? They were
No.
repulsive, is the word I'm looking for. Thick sole, and obviously she's on her feet for 17 or 18 hours. Thick sole, sort of cut to the shape of the foot. No, that there's nothing fashionable about these. Lace up with strong laces. They look like they could carry you from one side of Africa to the other. And my mom used to have like 3 pairs of Nature Treks. And you'd look at these shoes and you'd think, Mom, don't wear them. It's embarrassing. You know, you are shaming the family. But she had to wear them because she was on her feet all the time and she loved them. And it became a symbol of her job and her hard work. Because really, my mom wanted the leopard skin stilettos, and they were of a different incarnation of the woman that wore those. And now she was the woman that wore the Nature Trek shoes.
I love that. So, what are your shoes?
Oh, I've got everything from the racy lace ups. But I have to say, the liberation of COVID trainers. I very, very rarely don't wear trainers now. I wear trainers for everything, and I've got quite a few pairs. And the first year after COVID, I was invited to the Booker Prize and never been before. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to wear? So I got the whole outfit ready. And this is after COVID. And, obviously for an entire year, my feet had spread like,
Yeah.
and I put on this pair of shoes, beautiful, expensive pair of heels. And I was like, they're so painful. Why did I ever wear them? But I am wearing them. I am going to wear them. I would say it was an hour of pure agony. And when I got there, 2 women had bolted and they had the silver trainers on. I was gutted. I just thought, why didn't I wear my trainers and just be brave? Just say I can't wear that anymore. So I am both. I do like stiletto occasionally, but that's when you're going from the front door to the car to
Yeah,
the rest
Carter bar.
door,
Yeah.
car to bar, and then back. And then on the way back, you take them off and just go barefoot.
So we start with Paulette's nurse's shoes. That's where you came in.
Yes, and then then obviously I thought nursing auxiliary because sensible shoes. So then she's a nursing auxiliary. She's kind. My mother was very, very, very kind. Um, she's not like my mother in lots of ways, but the kindness is one. And that by then I'm thinking, oh, she's this and she's that, and what story are we going to have? Um, but it would start with her and it would revolve around her, and then you build a person outwards. So this is who she is on the inside, and so what does she do? So what happens to her, and what forces are there out there beyond her control? And there's so many things in the book that happen to her, and really the book is about how she deals with those changes and how they affect her and how they change her, and what bits of her she can salvage from the wreckage.
Because she's just an ordinary woman, isn't she?
Of
With
course,
an
completely.
ordinary job and an ordinary life. And reading her, I was really struck by how few of them there are in fiction.
Yes. Yeah, she's not going to commit a murder. She's not going to do anything, out of the ordinary. She would be the last person in the world that would think someone would write a book about her. I don't do anything. I don't, you know, I'm simple. There's nothing to me. Um, But actually, for me, not only is everybody extraordinary, I really believe that everybody's extraordinary, but it's those people that walk through the world doing beautiful acts of kindness and extraordinary things on this very small scale that we should think about and focus on a bit too much. Because if you go and look at the biographies or the autobiographies around October, November, they are all about, oh, I did this, I did this, I did the other. And they're extraordinary things that most of us aren't going to relate to. And all through my life, I've read autobiographies of very, very ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Do you know, surviving is extraordinary. If you've anyone here that's ever been depressed, getting up in the morning when you're depressed, having a shower and washing your hair is climbing a mountain. It's an extraordinary feat, leaving the house sometimes. but we sort of, I think, concentrate on the, razzmatazz of life sometimes a bit too much.
I think that's one of the reasons that the post office scandal
Yes,
resonated so much because, in fact, my parents were here last weekend and my mum was like literally saying that could have been granddad.
yes,
Those
yeah,
people were just like granddad,
yeah,
and I think that's ordinary people thrown into an unimaginable situation is much more interesting than someone
much
with
more.
five
Yes.
houses and yeah.
Yes, and so, somebody that's got resources or somebody that's well known that can get the attention if they went to the police station or, everyone wants to be their friends because they're a supermodel or whatever. When you're an ordinary person with an ordinary lower class, working class life, you haven't got any resources. No one's taking you seriously. No one's even noticing you half the time. Then to battle extraordinary or difficult circumstances and remain intact is such an accomplishment. It's uh, maybe something it's a shame social media and the print media don't pay more attention to those stories.
So do you, once you've got your character, do you plot out the story or does the story just happen to her?
I plot to within an inch of its life. I have a spreadsheet and I
Oh,
make
nerd.
I no totally I will. I mean, there's a lot of thinking going on. So I've got Paulette, and I think, right, what can happen? What do I want to happen to her? What would be a good story? And I always do have an eye on having respect for the reader. If someone's going to buy my book and they're going to spend 10 or 20 quid on it and 5 or 6 hours with this book, don't take the piss. Make it worth their while so that they think, oh my God, that was a great experience. I loved it, rather than, I'll just chuck this story together and I won't put much thought into it. So I put an enormous amount of thought and research into it. And I will plot that book so minutely on a spreadsheet, and then I'll never look at it again. And then I'll write the book because I know it and I know the book
Mm.
and I know what's going to happen and I can let go of all the left brain or whatever it is, right brain thinking and just get into the words and the music of the sentences and those bits of the story that are emotive. I can work on them, like craft them properly.
So you've got, I mean, you gave us a brilliant little boy in My Name is Leon. You are so good at writing wee boys.
Yeah, yeah.
How, tell us about Nellie and Bird and where they came from and how you get in their heads.
Um, so I knew that Paulette was going to have a child because she really wanted one. And I knew that there was going to be a repository for this enormous amount of love that she had. It had to go somewhere. And so it was obvious that she was going to have a son. And it was, to me, very important that she was blindsided by this boy. That I'm going to love him, he's going to love me, we're going to be like this, it's going to be us two, us two, us two. And all the time, that relationship, is it undermined by the father? I don't know if you could say that Garfield undermined it. He is a very good dad. He's a
Mm,
very good dad when he didn't have to be. But yeah, he side swipes her really. He plans it, as she suspects that she's he gets the child off her, basically.
mm,
So I knew that was going to happen. And then I thought, where's that love going to go? Where, it needs to go somewhere. Um, and then, I mean, I always had the idea in a separate book of the grandfather and Nellie. I knew that was a story. It was the grandfather and the daughter and the child is a story that I had already plotted for a different book. And I just thought, it's that boy. It is absolutely that boy who I adore. I absolutely,
mm.
yeah,
Was Paulette in the other book?
yes. She was a B character. Yeah.
So
So
she kind of walked in and went, no, this is my story.
she didn't actually. It was what happened was I wrote this other book which had six main characters, and it was quite complex. And I sent it off to my editor at Hachette, and I knew it wasn't right. Oh, I knew it wasn't right. And I sent it to her and I said, "What do you think?" And she went, "What do you think?" I said,
Oh,
I know, the heart sank. I said, "It's Paulette's story." And she said, "Yes, it is." And Paulette was so minor. She was a nursing auxiliary in the hospital where Nellie's mother was in a care home. So she just didn't feature, but she was there. She was there. And Nellie was a baby in that book. So I extracted them from that other book and I was like, right, it's you two. It's you two. And the story was there. I mean, it wasn't difficult to write once I realized that she was going to love him and she was going to care for him and he her.
that's so, you know what? That's so interesting because you absolutely can see that,
Yes,
having read it, that those characters effectively almost walked out of another book
yes,
into
yeah.
their own book.
And
It's,
she wouldn't be that sort of person. Nellie would be that sort of person that would think they were worthy to be in a book. But my God, that special love that you have, that we all have for people that we aren't related to. It's, it's deep, it's abiding, it's, on a spiritual level sometimes.
and it's so rarely written about, isn't it? I mean, even, platonic friendship love is not written,
No,
is rarely written about. It's all about romantic love. It's all about the happy ever after, or the not so happy ever after, or the getting to happy ever
yeah.
after.
Or the
But that
thwarting
kind of,
love affair, that, oh, the
yeah.
it's going to be, will she get him or is he having an affair? Which is, yeah, great. We all love that kind of a story, but there's so many different ways of expressing love and being loved as well.
Yeah, that is so fascinating because Nellie, I mean, this is entirely personal, and it's because I loved Paulette so much, but I liked Nellie so much more than Bird. But I
Oh
think
yeah,
because Bird just like turns into his dad, doesn't he? And he's
yeah.
a horrible brat, and I wanted to punch him by the end. It's like you ingrate. Yeah,
Well, the thing is, Bird loves his mom. There's no doubt he
yeah.
loves his mom, but he loves his dad. And what he got when he went to Elizabeth Strout does do this well. Someone's put that in the. She does really, really well.
And
The
we
writer.
won't ask you about the Women's Prize at all.
Well, I can talk about the shortlist because I can't talk about the winner because I don't
No,
know.
because you haven't done it yet, have you?
So exactly. So I'm very happy to talk about the shortlist. But yeah, Bird loves his dad, and what he gets when he goes to his dad's house, of course, is the family, the mom, the cooking, the two sisters,
Yeah.
and he's the big brother, and he gets worship. And of course, Paulette doesn't know that. She doesn't know what happens when he takes Bird, who's obviously very spoiled, and Paulette spoilt him. Paulette had many hints that Bird wasn't that nice, that, Bird was a bit of a sod, certainly from Maggie next door and, from Nellie himself. But she's like, oh no, my boy, my boy's lovely, till she sees him in action.
And then when, of course, it's the car incident
The
and
what?
all
The
the
car.
the car.
Oh, the car. Yes.
Yeah, and of course, his dad, all the points he makes about, Nellie being white and Bird
Yeah,
getting the blame, and it's all true. It's
it's all true.
all good
Absolutely.
points.
All good points. But you have then this vulnerable, lost boy in desperate need of mothering, trying to belong, trying to find himself, trying to explain his own past to himself. And then you know, desperately vulnerable. And then you've got a Bird with everything: two moms, two sisters, a father that adores him, strong, a mother that adores him, strong, handsome, good looking, well fed, groomed, looked after, um, who just doesn't appreciate it. And Nelly wants this much of what Bird's got. Bird's got, the banqueting table,
Mm.
and Nelly's surviving on crumbs.
Did your experience advising on foster children before you were a writer, does that influence the writing of Nellie in particular?
Always, yeah, always. There's um, there's children so I was on the adoption panel for many years, and the fostering panel, and there are children that papers that came to me when I was on that, and I've never forgotten them. There's names that are seared into my brain of children that I read about, and I was just like, oh my God, and your heart goes out to them, and you think, I could adopt that child tomorrow. You are so moved by them, and it's like the personality lifts off the page. You never see a photo if you're on the adoption panel. You never see a video. Maybe you do now. I'm talking maybe 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. Maybe it's different. But you are reading what the child says. You're reading what the foster carer says about the child, and you're just melted by it. Um, and yeah, definitely, I'm very, very affected by the vulnerable child. Always have been.
Laurie says effing Denton wrecked it for Paulette because
I
she
mean,
wanted
what
that kind of
yeah,
family and she thought she was going to get it.
absolutely. She planned for it. She was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to have, a house full of children, the washing, cake in the oven, me doing the ironing, the kids with the Lego on the floor. Denton's going to come in and give me a kiss on the cheek. We're going to go to the seas. The really modest things that she wants. She's not saying a fast car and blah, blah, blah. She's thinking, I want what everyone wants, really, to belong, to be loved, someone that wants to spend time with me, bring my kids up, take them to school. So modest. And there's Denton, who's got it already, and certainly has no intention of having it with her.
What an arsehole, honestly.
So many of them.
Yeah, so many. Yeah, I mean, then we could go on about then how she goes and finds more of them, but
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, but that's one thing I love about her because, she's not perfect. She
No,
fucks up,
not a saint. She's not a saint, and she's chronically lonely. On the rebound of Denton and Garfield, who she couldn't make it work with. Um, how am I going to find love? How am I going to feed this massive? How am I going to plug the hole? Um, Probably very bad turn of phrase there, but do you know what I mean? Like, what's going to fill me up and make me feel whole? And it's got to be being loved. And in the absence of it, I'm in my 30s now, I'm 36, I'm 37. I don't feel young and sexy and gorgeous. So it's going to be married men. And that's the deal. Don't bring it to me, because we're just going to have sex, we're going to have drinks. I'm going to close my eyes to what I'm doing.
And Marguerite, you mentioned Maggie, and Marguerite just said Maggie was such a great character. And I kind of love the way that Maggie and Paulette combine to cover all three sides of you.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, definitely. My dad from St. Kitts, my mom from Wexford. Um, and most definitely, I am bits of both of those women completely. I mean, Maggie is at least three of my cousins, my Irish cousins, at least three of them. And Paulette is definitely my sister in a big way. Um, and also a couple of my friends that I grew up with. I've amalgamated both of them, and then put them together and put them in opposition to each other, because they are so different in many ways. There's Maggie, who's just like, yeah, I'll have a bloke if I have a bloke, and I'll do that. And I smoke too much, I drink too much, I eat too much, but life's great. I've got it sorted. And she's not that sorted. But then you've got Paulette overthinking what her child thinks, overthinking what I want and how to get it and all that kind of stuff. And worrying about certainly what Garfield thinks when she shouldn't.
I mean, the more I think about Garfield, I mean, like you say, he's a good dad, no question about it. But he took advantage of her when she was absolutely grief-stricken.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
And, from his perspective, fancied her probably for many, many months. But he's very cruel. When he leaves her, he's cruel. When he makes fun of the fact that she still loves Denton, he's cruel. When he tells her, I'm taking Bird to America, he absolutely knows what he's doing. He knows
mm,
he's breaking her heart. Uh, and I mean, she was right about him. He's unpleasant. He was unpleasant from the beginning, but he does love his son, and she can't deny that. And that's what's very hard for her to cope with, that he set her up really. You look after that boy, and then when I'm ready, which is what he tells her, I'm coming back for him.
yes, that's true. And you kind of don't notice that at the
No,
begin when he says it, because like Laurie's just said, he's punishing her for not loving him. And
yes,
he's, you know, you
yeah,
don't compute that he means it literally.
no, no, no. Don't ever try and keep me from my son, he says to her. He doesn't, she's not thinking he's coming back for the son. She's thinking we'll both parent him forever. I'll never keep him from you. And he's like, yeah, I'll be gone. I'll be having that boy.
I'll keep him from you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep him from you. When you've brought him up and fed him and watered him and watched him, he'll come and live with me and we'll be a family. And that is cruel because he doesn't take her into account.
He doesn't care.
No. And he does want to punish her, as somebody says, for not
Yeah,
loving him.
Laurie, yeah.
Yeah. She knows, and maybe if she had loved him, he would have been lovely. Who knows? I don't think so myself.
No, I think, yeah, he totally wants it all his own way, doesn't he?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
I took all this really personally, as you can tell. I'm just like,
It
he'll
does,
be up against the wall when I'm in charge.
to me, it does feel very real, like it happened. It doesn't
Mm.
feel like it didn't happen. It feels absolutely real. When I was writing it, when you're plotting a book, you absolutely have to make sure this is what could happen. The minute someone acts out of character, or, you know, there's something in the book that just doesn't ring through, it's like a siren to me. That wouldn't happen. Even if, I mean, Paulette, you could say acts out of character in quite a few occasions, but it's within the scope of who she is. It's within the scope of possibility. I can't stand those books where I'm reading something, I go, she shot him. What? Where did you get the gun from? Yeah, if I wanted to get a gun tomorrow, I wouldn't know how to do it. And yet you have these books where she got a gun from down the road. I was like, oh right, I'll forget it.
You know that was just put in because an editor kind of went, "Where did the gun come from?" And they were
Yes,
like, "Oh yeah, the bloke in the pub on the corner."
yeah,
Okay,
he'll
yeah,
get me a gun. I mean, who would know how to get a gun? It would probably
no,
take me a year, and I'd be arrested before I got to use it.
totally. But it's like you were saying right at the beginning, because it's not high concept. It's not it's not a twist a minute. It's not, none of those things. It's like you're right there in Paulette's head, in her life, in her kitchen, smelling the food, you know, feeling the feelings.
Yes, it's and I do find that I've always been interested in the small, apparently insignificant life and the small event that's happened to that person that has broken them or deeply affected them, and they're at the laundrette loading their washing, and no one knows that their world has just fallen apart. No one knows that they're brokenhearted. Nobody knows they've just had the best news in the world because they're just doing their washing. and it's all in here. It's all happening, and they're getting on with their life with this enormous secret or this enormous weight. To me, that is so much more interesting than the bank robbery or whatever. That people walk about the earth and walk through their lives carrying great burdens or great secrets or great joy sometimes and great capacity for love that hasn't got anywhere to go. I've always been fascinated by that. The capacity of the human heart to hold those kind of things.
And everybody who emailed me about the book commented on the fact that it was set in the West Midlands.
Yes.
Um, and many people had a connection to the West Midlands. I'd either grown up there for a bit or went to university there. But everybody said it really struck them because it's so rare.
Yeah. Yes.
Like the bit in the middle that nobody pays any bloody attention to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's on the way to somewhere through, I'm going from London to Manchester, I'll go through the Midlands. I'm going from Cornwall to Edinburgh, I'm going to go through the Midlands. But actually, it's an actual place, as we know. And there isn't a lot of books set there. And it's in nowhere in that book do I say it's Birmingham, by the way. Nobody.
No, that was me making that assumption.
No,
Yeah.
no, absolutely, and it's right to, but I don't say that on purpose because it's not the town is not a character. It could
Hmm.
be anywhere. When I wrote My Name is Leon, I had people emailing me all the time saying, "Oh, I know that place. It's in Tottenham. I know that place. It's in Toxteth. I know that allotment. It's in Leeds." And because I never said, and I never do say what town it's in, unless the town is very, very important. Because those people like Paulette are everywhere. They're everywhere. They're people, all of us know a Paulette. There'll be Paulettes in South America, in Canada, in France. It's a she's a very specific person, but she is also a type of person, self-effacing, humble, in the kitchen at parties, scraping the plates, stacking the plates when it's not even her house, pinning over her party dress. She's that person who we all know.
Like Ellie just said that the loneliness that Paulette feels after Birds left, coming home night after night broke her heart. And I think, but it's having thought about it when I was thinking about the conversation earlier, it's like it's that moment, really. It's those people that she loves leaving her and her implosion because of it.
Yeah,
It almost seemed to me that it almost needs to happen in order for her to accept that she's spent her whole life caring for other people and she has to accept care from
yes,
others.
yes, yeah, absolutely. She spends her life giving out, giving out, giving out, never giving to herself, really. She doesn't even physically take care of herself. Um, and it's only when she's lost everything, you know, without giving a spoiler, that she is able to accept love and feel worthy of being loved and has to accept it from an unusual quarter.
Marguerite has made a really interesting point, which is that she was wondering how Paulette might have mothered and parented. See, we all think Paulette's a real person. You can tell that, can't you? What if Paulette had had a daughter?
Yeah, and it never crossed my mind that she would have a daughter. Never, never, never. And if I think about it now, I don't think it would have been that different. It's the Garfield father that is really the fly in the ointment. If Garfield hadn't existed or had just pissed off, as many men do, um, her relationship with Bird would have been different. Bird would have been different to her, and the future would have been different. I think if she'd had a daughter and Garfield around, Garfield would have pulled the same stunt. He would have, been Father Christmas and Daddy Bountiful, while Paulette was doing the hard yards of tidy your bedroom, do your homework. So I think she would have loved a daughter more, and there is not loved a daughter more. The daughter may have loved her more. There's that old northern saying, isn't there, that um, a daughter's a daughter for the rest of their life, but a son is a son till he gets a wife.
Yeah.
And I think there's truth in that. If I think about my children, my daughter rings me sort of twice a day, and my son will ring me. I mean, he's moved back in now. Totally separate story. Um, but
Good or bad?
good but unusual. I mean, when he left, so my son left about 2 years ago, and he's got learning difficulties. And I thought to myself, he will always be with me. I thought I'd be one of those older women, like 80, and I'd have this 40-year-old son that would just be, carrying the shopping in Sainsbury's. You see them all the time.
Yeah.
That was going to be me. And I used to date men, and like within 2 hours of meeting them, I'll say, I've got a son, and he will always be with me, and he'll always come first. Get that through your head, because that's how certain I was. Then 2 years ago, he meets a girl who's lovely, lovely, don't like her now. Meets a girl and moves out. Oh my God, I was heartbroken. I thought I would die. I thought I wanted him to leave. I was sort of distressed that he would always be with me for his sake. And then he gets, bye, mom. And I was like, oh my God, I was gutted. And the night that he left, so he leaves on the Friday night, and on Sunday morning, my daughter, who's older than him, let herself in at 7 o'clock, and she said, I didn't want you to wake up to an empty house.
Oh.
I mean, Luke's gone. Luke, without a backward glance, he loves me, but he's off for his adventures. Yet my daughter's thinking, how does mom feel? And I think there is truth in that daughters, not always, obviously, but daughters feel they love their mom. They feel it, my daughter's wonderful. They're both wonderful. And Luke's back now because he finished with the girlfriend. So he's back home to save up to get a flat with his new girlfriend, who's lovely.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that was a digression.
No, no, it's interesting. Luke's got it sorted.
Oh no, he's clever. He's a clever boy.
Yeah. I mean, we leave Paulette kind of finding her feet in midlife. Um, and is it fair to say you found your feet in midlife?
Yes.
Or is that a really terrible, tenuous link?
No, that's not a tenuous. I think one of the reasons I set the book in 1972 to begin with is because I wanted her to age. I wanted to know her. I knew I would know her. I think she's around 48 or 50. I think maybe a bit older than that by the time the book finishes. And that is certainly for me the time I came into myself. I was 55 and I just got divorced and I just got this book deal. And every day was thinking, you know, I can't do this. I don't like this. I'm used to being married. I'm used to being half of a pair. I didn't find my feet. I was doing lots of book events and being fated, and I felt shit. Um, and then, like 2 years into that, I was like, "Hello." I mean, it was just great. I it was slow. I remember going to a counselor, a therapist, and she said to me, "You've got to allow 1 year of recovery for every 10 years of marriage." And I was like, I can't do 2 years. I can't do 2 years of feeling shit. Um, and it wasn't exactly 2 years, but it was more or less 2 years when I just thought, oh my God, this is great. I'm alive, I'm functioning, I love my life. I've carved out, I found myself again. I mean, it sounds so tacky, but I really did find myself and love my life in a way that I never loved it before. And I don't think a way that I expressed for many, many years. I was not unhappy in my marriage, but I was different. And so I wanted Paulette to have that kind of experience where, like, you're just like the water's just here and then it comes down and you put your head up and you go, oh, hello, you know, I'm here and I'm breathing and the sun's shining on me and I haven't drowned. And I really wanted Paulette to have that coming up for air and staying up for air.
I feel like we're seeing enough of those stories being told in fiction.
No, no. I think what I have noticed is that now, Jesus Christ, if anyone else says perimenopause to me or menopause to me, I will explode. I
Mm.
don't I don't think we should have to have a medical diagnosis to be strong and to find ourselves as women. Oh, you can do this because you've had the menopause. Oh, you're strong because you've had the menopause. Oh, it's this because of the menopause. I know the menopause is a big thing. I had mine at 39, so I know what it's like. But can we not just say that we want to do something? That that's it. We
Mm.
want to do something. I've realized something and now I'm going to live this life. I think to have it medicalized and explained away by some hormonal function, which has always happened to women, you like that because you're hormones, you like that because you're hormones, you like that. And I'm really a little bit tired of that. And so for me, I think we should just see more stories about women saying, I want to do this with my life, not because of the hormones, not because my children have left home, not because I've got divorced, but just much more strong women, not even strong women, women that feel weak, saying, do you know what? I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to not apologize for it. So many more stories we need than that. Paulette's just one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk, a lot of chat, but it doesn't feel like it's coming through. And even when we say there are more older female characters on TV, they are still mainly just worrying about
Yeah,
how old they look and whether they're still shaggable.
that literally, and the story is about, oh, she got a shag, she got a bloke, or she did, she robbed a bank. It's always
Yeah.
a bit extreme. It's like, and always like some major fallout from it, rather than maybe it's not good telly. I don't know, but I suspect it could be great telly to tell the Elizabeth Strout story of these extraordinary women um, doing extraordinary things, showing kindness, reinventing themselves, having a new career, redecorating the house, discovering their sexuality, a new sexuality, whatever it is that they do, but just doing it because they want to, not because of the external forces. But oh, you've got permission to do it now. Well, do it when you don't have permission.
Yeah, it takes a long time though, doesn't it, to come through that good girl training
Yes.
that you have to have permission and that you have to put other people first and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and society's done a very, very good job of keeping us in our place. And also, I should say this, I like that place. I liked that place. I loved being a mom. I loved being a wife. I make chutney and jam and I knit. And we shouldn't shit on that life and just say
Mm.
it's not worth anything. It's so valuable. It's so important. Those women that make their lives and the lives of their family, they make safe places for people to explore their life. They give people a foundation from which to go forward. It's not to denigrate that journey or say it's any kind of second best, but also have the permission and the opportunity to have a different path and a different way forward that is seen as viable and not some massive act of rebellion and, oh, she'll come
Mm.
back to her senses.
So you've just read 80 odd books by women. What proportion of them would you say address the concerns of older women?
Um,
Roughly, obviously. I won't hold you to it.
10%, maybe not 10, maybe not 10. Elizabeth Strout is there. She's on the
Mm.
the short list, obviously. Um, God, I'm trying to think of another one.
Maybe all fours, but not.
Yeah, but all fours is, and I've seen it described many, many times as the perimenopause novel.
Yeah,
I don't, I honestly, I'm sick to the back teeth of it. My menopause journey. I'm just like, it feels like people are using it as a tool, using it as a gateway into a different life. And without the menopause, you don't do it, or you're not going to feel it, or you're not going to,
mm,
or you're not going to understand, and you'll understand when you get there. And I just think, of course, many of those things are true, but it should not be the thing that gives us permission. If we do
yeah.
it with the
Not
menopause,
defining.
not defining, and also the menopause is over actually one day. It's over one day. And what about if
Mm.
you haven't had the menopause and you're having these feelings about wanting to change your life? Do you have to wait for the menopause to have it?
Yeah, yeah,
Like I say, I was 39 when I had the menopause. It was a very different experience, very
yeah,
isolating experience. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Ellie has just said Stoneyard devotional. I don't know if that was this year, actually, was it? It's probably last year. I can't remember. Charlotte Wood?
I can't remember that. I don't remember that book. I didn't read it.
No, I think it was I think it might have been last year. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Women's Prize is 30 years
30
old, and we still need it.
We still absolutely need it. We need it because just the same way we need race relations legislation because we haven't cracked it. We need it because the issues and the problems have not gone away. Some of them have morphed, some of them have got better, most definitely, and some of them remain as entrenched as they ever were. Women's column inches, the questions that women are asked about. How do you juggle writing with children? No one says that to Ian McEwan.
No, God.
Nobody says that to Ian. Nobody says, you look lovely in that jumper. Nobody gives a review of, let's say, Richard Osman. Richard Osman came to talk to me today. This is the journalist. And he was wearing a pink shirt with a, blue tie and a jacket. I think it was a bit from so-and-so, so-and-so. And I remarked, no, but interview Sally Rooney. She was wearing a green fluffy jumper and she's really quite thin in real life and she's got very blue eyes. What's that got to do with it? Let's ask the same questions of
Yeah.
all authors and all people. And until we crack that, and there's more equality of the way that we treat women's writings, we will need the Women's Prize to say, here we are doing great stuff.
Yeah, there was the poet Holly McNeish did a really funny Instagram post today where she basically said, if you're coming to my gigs and you want to know, what my daughter thinks of all my traveling, who's
Oh,
looking after my child while I'm here, and then she reels off this list and she's like, just don't come,
absolutely.
don't come,
No, absolutely. And that's the point of us and certainly of the Women's Prize saying we are serious authors. We are actually not writing about the domestic all the time, which is the great thing that's leveled about women's writing, that men answer the big questions of the day. They write the big American novel, the great American novel, and women write about home and knitting and feeding chickens. And not true. I've just read so many books by women from the English speaking world, and they are talking about the big issues of the day. They are way beyond the domestic. They're in the political, science fiction, the big ideas, the big worries of the day. It's first class, serious writing.
Have there been any surprises?
In what I've read, the
Mm.
books that I've read, um, there's a lot of joy. There was a lot of joy and fun and not taking things too seriously. And I thought we were living through such difficult times. And of course, there were some books that dealt with very, very difficult issues. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of fun. I mean, such funny, funny books. Irreverent. Irreverent is the word. Yeah, and that was great.
Tanya is asking how your perspective as a writer has changed from your first book to this one.
I'd like to think I've grown up, but I suspect I haven't. I grow up very, very slowly. My perspective has changed from Leon to this one. Um, I I think I know less. I think possibly about the world. I think maybe I was more certain. I think I'm less optimistic about change for the good. When I wrote Leon,
Mm.
which I would have been 54 when I wrote it, 56 when it was published, I thought the world was getting better and better and better, and we were moving towards a more equal, kind, and compassionate society, slowly but getting there. And I don't feel like that now. I think the world is more dangerous, more fractured, um, less diversity, less coming together. So I think I've lost some of my optimism about life, but not entirely, because I do think we'll get back there.
I hope so.
Yes, I hope so, but I do genuinely believe that if we focus more on the small stories and the great, great kindnesses that people show one another, not just their friends, but strangers, I do think it could change for the better. I still think there's hope.
Your previous book was a memoir. Did that turn you on to writing non-fiction, or did it make you want to run for the hills?
I would like to write non-fiction, definitely. Believe it or not, the book that I really, really, really want to write, and I'm not sure if it's a book, I'm not sure if it's a TV program, is a book about food in literature and food and authors. It's sort of a recipe book. It's sort of how writers sustain themselves. I'd like to speak to everyone that's written a book where food has featured highly about their relationship with food. So I'd like to talk to Joanne Harris about chocolat. I'd like to
Mm.
talk to, I can't talk to a cookery writer because they're different. It's ordinary people. And I know that I think it was Sebastian Barry says he only eats soup when he's writing. And I'm just like, wow, I want to know about that. So I think I might pitch that to somebody. I'm desperate to write it.
I'd love to read it, totally.
Yeah, be great.
Because the food was so important in the best of everything.
Yes,
And not just because of Nellie's trajectory, although obviously it's really critical to that, but it feels like it imbues Paulette's whole story.
yes. And one of the things about being an immigrant, the immigrant experience of moving from one country to another is one of the things that you can bring with you are the recipes. You can't get the food, especially my father when he came to England in 1956. There's no such thing as rice that wasn't put in rice. There was no garlic was very, very hard to find. Um, but he used to cook and it would remind him of home. It was a connection with home. And it's very, very important to the immigrant experience. And this really, for Paulette, was her connection to her grandmother. When she's in church, she's thinking, what are we going to have? Are we going to have coconut cake and lemonade? Are we going to have that? Because it was her connection with her grandmother, connection with the West Indies, and also, most importantly, her way of showing love to people. What would you like? Would you like that? Would you like this? Would you? It's that you often see in not just immigrant communities, in lots of communities where food is the way that I show that I love you. I've made your favorite dinner. I'll make that because you love it. I'll make that because we can all sit down at the table and be together for an hour. So I used it very much to demonstrate the importance of Paulette's history to her, but also I knew it was going to feature strongly as the book progressed.
So, what are you writing at the minute? What's next?
I am writing the follow-up to My Name is Leon.
Wow.
I'm halfway through it.
Oh my God, no pressure.
No pressure, I know. He's 37. That's all I can tell you. at the moment.
That's
Well,
not a
I
lot.
do know it. I do know it. I'm very when I wrote My Name is Leon, um, I actually knew Leon as an adult in a different book. I'd written a different book, and Leon was an adult, and My Name is Leon was the backstory of the adult. So I actually know the 37-year-old almost better than I knew the boy. So he's been sitting around waiting a long time.
But you do that often because that's twice you've written a book and then gone, actually, no, this isn't the right story. It's
Yeah,
a different story.
yeah, and I mean, entire book. Leon was in an entire book. And, it's like when I was writing the book, you had this bloke going, uh, what about me? What about me? What about me? And it was like, okay, I'll write your backstory. And that became My Name is Leon. And now I can go back to him and say, right, you've waited a long time, let's go.
That is, Tanya wants to know if you've got an actor in mind to play him grown up already.
37. I have got, so on Pinterest, I have got a Pinterest board of lots of pictures from that. And I have got an actor. I don't even know his name. I don't know his name, but I saw him and I thought, there he is. Um,
Yeah.
and he's a big guy. Leon's a big guy, mixed race, very serious. And I also have a playlist of songs that will be at the right register for the book.
Did you have a playlist for Paulette?
Oh yeah, every book's got a playlist. Every book's got a playlist. And like I say, the playlist it's not about the words at all. It might be about the words, but much more it's about how that book makes me feel and the register that it's written in, and it's striking this chord, and that's the chord I want the reader to have. I want them that to have that feeling from that song.
You put them on Spotify.
Yes, yeah. But no, I mean, if someone, even knowing the book, if they listen to that playlist, it would mean nothing to them because it might be some classical music, it might be jazz, and you'd read something that was about "Honey, I'm going to leave you," and you'd think, "Well, where is that in Paulette's story? It's nowhere there."
Mm,
But the tone and the feeling is there for me.
that's brilliant, Kit. Thank you so much. You've been so brilliant, as I knew you would be. Um, I need to see your shoes now.
Hold on. Which ones do you want? The trainers or the shoes?
Whichever.
Right, hold
I
on.
think
Let me.
we need to end on the shoes, I think.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's been so lovely to see you all, and I love how you've been so full of chat. We'll just wait for to see Kit's shoes because I think that's very important given the shoe tone for us to go the full circle. And we'll be back next month. I think it's June the 10th, but don't, yeah, it is June the 10th at 7 p.m. with um, Jessica Stanley to talk about Consider Yourself Kissed, which I think will be another really good one. But sit tight. Yeah, Tan, all the books have gone. Do you know what? I had 60 entries for next month's book. So I'm sorry if you haven't heard from me, it does mean you haven't got one. And here's Kit with her
Right.
shoes. She's
So
back.
these are the cheat shoes because see the sensible heel, and yet
Yeah.
and yet
Still pointy though.
pointy, and from the front you might think they're stilettos, but then they've got the Nana heel, which works with a frock. They're very good.
There you go. That's very good. Well done. Thank you so much, Kit and your Nana Heel and Paulette. And I honestly think that everybody just thinks she's real, and that's such a
Great.
massive talent.
Such a compliment. Thank you so much for all the lovely comments in the chat as well.
Thanks, Kit, so much. And if you want, I can send you a text of the chat if you'd like to see it
Oh,
properly. I can
I'd
send
love
it
that.
via
Yes.
Lou.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.